Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here on the Nerd Party Network. My name is Lee Hutchison, and Dallas King and I make our way through the A24 filmography and along the way bring interviews with the talent involved in front of and behind the camera. Our series of interviews with the cast of The Curse continues as we welcome Aliyah Lee. Aliyah portrays Janice, who is recruited by her boyfriend Pascal, played by former guest Alexander Gibson, to act as a fake married couple for the filming of Fliplanthropy, as faux buyers for a passive living home. Join us as Aliyah shares her experiences of creating her own work, acting, and her experiences from the amazing Curse set. Thanks so much to Aliyah for joining us, and hope you too will enjoy this podcast. Well, obviously our introduction to you in The Curse was as an actor. You're also a director, producer, comic, and also a theatre actor. What kind of ignited your passion for the industry and the craft?
Well, it's kind of funny. So, of course, as a child, we all play pretend, and that's fun. And when I was a child, I was really focused into dance and classical ballet. And, as I grew up, that sort of went away. I developed rheumatoid disease, so dance was no longer, really an option for me. And I actually ended up having my son very young. So I had my son when I was 19, and so all my college plans and stuff sort of got pushed for a little while. So I went back to school when I was 30, and I did one semester as a journalism major. Hated it. It was a spring semester, and so the college that I went to, we always did a spring musical every year. And so one of my assignments as a journalism major was to go interview the cast of the spring musical. And so I went and I did it and whatever, and I'm sitting here talking to all these like theater majors and props designers, all these people, and I'm just like, oh, these are my people. Like, this is where I should be. So I promptly transferred to theater the next semester, and it kind of all went from there.
Was there any kind of fear about making that transition? Because it's a precarious career at the best of time, the kind of creative industries. Was there a thing of like, I need to play it safe and, look at maybe something else? Or was it just like, this is where my heart and passion really is, and kind of taking that, I guess, maybe a bit of a risk?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's something to think about. For me, I think there was some maybe fear or anxiety, but at the same time, I kind of felt like I had spent the last 10, 12 years playing it safe. I was a legal assistant. I was, working my 9 to 5 and all that. And I was like, you know what, maybe it's time. And yeah, so it was anxiety provoking, but not detrimentally so.
Like, obviously, we mentioned that you've got a broad kind of spectrum of like skills in the industry. Do you kind of have a preference, or has one been harder to break into than the other, perhaps?
Yeah. So I actually got into production because I was struggling with finding acting work. And what better way to, start yourself into the business than by making your own stuff. And as I got into producing and into directing and, writing and storytelling, I realized, oh, I don't think I can direct myself. Like, I'm not ready for that. That's not in my wheelhouse as a little indie filmmaker starting out. And so all my indie stuff I've done on my own, and I have sort of just fallen into actually booking the acting roles later. So yeah, it kind of, the two really go together, but at the same time, I don't know. I think it's really cool that we live in this age of like media literacy and all of the, connections that we have with the internet and everything, where indie filmmakers can, really get their stuff out there and like can actually produce things that people can see. And, I don't know, it's really cool that we have that opportunity. But I would say that for me, it was a lot harder to get a good acting role than it was to um, maybe get the desire to make my own stuff.
And, for people that are like much like myself, that are just familiar with you originally from things like The Curse, what kind of like productions, performances would you recommend people to check out from your kind of filmography so far, and where might people kind of find maybe some of this stuff?
So The Curse right now, I believe, is the only thing that is available to see me act in. Um, Soon, a feature film will be coming out. I don't know when the release date is, but it was written and directed by my friend Alejandro Montoya Marin, who is also, he came up in Albuquerque. He's in LA now, but I'm excited about that one. It's going to be a fun little kind of action comedy. Um, and then let's see. Other than that, we can look at my independently produced short films. So my first film is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi climate change movie called Permafrost. And so that takes place in frozen over Texas. And we actually filmed it in my home state of North Dakota. So yeah, it was North Dakota played a really good Texas, which was great. But yeah, so that's a short film that will soon actually be available on YouTube. I think there's a couple more festivals we need to hear back from before we can fully release it, but it's on its way out there on our YouTube or Vimeo. My production company is 701 Productions. You can find us in both of those places. And then my second film, also not quite available yet, still in the festival circuit, but it's called Dispatch, and it's a sort of a legal procedural drama. And it follows a disturbing 911 call from ringing phone to resolution. And it's a film that is close to my heart as someone who came up as a legal assistant and worked in, criminal defense and that kind of thing. So it was really fun to go into, sort of melding my two professions together. And also really hard to cut down the legalese to make it palatable for a short film.
I'm curious as well, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like you're based in New Mexico, right? Like we've
Yes.
we've had so many people on from kind of New York, Los Angeles, London. Like, what's the film industry like in New Mexico? Because I think for a lot of people, if they immediately had to say something, they think of things like Breaking Bad and so on. Like, what is the industry like there? How does it differ from, say, kind of Los Angeles, maybe for better in some ways?
Sure. So I mean, I'm a little biased, but I love New Mexico films. So yeah, New Mexico film is excellent in the sense that we are a small, tight-knit community. Everyone kind of knows everybody. It's really a good way to sort of feel out different productions, and you sort of know what you're getting into with different crews and stuff. It's a really close-knit community, which is super cool. And then also we have excellent tax rebates in the state of New Mexico, which I've definitely taken advantage of as an indie filmmaker here. Depending on what you're doing, where you're shooting, whether you're using specific qualified filming facilities and stuff like that, you can earn back up to, I believe, 30% of what you spend in the state on your production, which can be huge. So that's a big deal. But yeah, I think for me as an actor, the biggest thing is, if I were living in LA, every audition I go on, I'm going to sit in a room with 200 other girls who look just like me, right? In New Mexico, there might be 10 other girls who look just like me. So it's a smaller market. And so you're not going out for big A-list type roles, but also it's a smaller market and you're going out for smaller roles, but they're there and there are fewer actors to, book them. So I guess it kind of depends on what you want to do. I also got into acting as an older person. So like I didn't start, I mean, I booked The Curse when I was 38. So yeah, I mean, it didn't feel right to go to LA and compete against, hot little 22-year-olds.
I'm curious because like the cast of this show, like from the mix of people we've interviewed so far, you're our first like New Mexico, where it was shot and so on, with a couple from Los Angeles. Was like a production like The Curse coming to New Mexico something that like immediately comes on you and locals' radars of like big production coming, and you're maybe all competing for acting roles, you know, best grip, directing assistants, all that sort of stuff. When does something like The Curse register for you guys at the earliest stage, and how does that kind of then unfold?
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you're at. For me, it was through my agent, is how I get all my information. I suppose I could be more active on social media and find things out for myself, but we all do our best. But yeah, for me, it was through my agent, and my ears perked up immediately because I'm an A24 geek, and so I was like, "Ooh, oh, I'm interested in that," and I was already a fan of Nathan Fielder and Safdie brothers, and so the idea of them being here was really exciting for me. And then, I did my first audition, figured, it's like any audition. You do it, you throw it away, you hope for the best, whatever. And thought nothing of it. And, maybe a month later, I got a call back and I was like, oh, that's nice. I was like, that was my first callback I've ever gotten for anything big. Like, and then so it was actually funny. It was the night before my son's high school graduation. And so it was his baccalaureate ceremony that night. And so I had to leave my son's baccalaureate like half hour early to go to my little Zoom callback or whatever. Anyway, did the callback. Next morning, had a request for like a director request for like 5 different scenes the morning of my child's graduation. So my husband and I were just like, okay, we're gonna fucking do this. We're gonna get it done. Like, so we did it. There was no makeup involved, but it was fine. And yeah, I guess they liked me and it was great. But I don't know, just the idea of like, oh, it's A24. I was so excited right away. So it felt really serendipitous that that was like my first major role.
Was it always kind of Janice that you were auditioning for, or was it like a kind of range of scenes that you were like they were trying to maybe kind of feel out what might be the best role for you?
The first one that I auditioned for, I don't remember the character's name, but it was definitely a smaller part. It was more like getting Whitney a coffee or something like that. That was the one that I first did, and then I got the call back for, and then when they asked for the requested scenes, then those were all Janice.
And I'm curious as well, kind of like with knowing it's like Nathan Fielder and the Safdies, did you have kind of a an idea of what this kind of production might be in your head, like as a fan, or what did you kind of expect it to be? Because it feels like it was kind of shrouded in an element of mystery.
It really was. I did not know what to expect. I know the little blurb in the breakdown said genre bending, and I was like, genre bending. Huh. Like 'cause usually you get auditions and you kind of have like there's like some kind of trope or like a type or something like genre bending. That doesn't give me any idea of what's happening. But yeah, you kind of understand Nathan's, shtick and like, but yeah, I had no idea. I was just like, well, I'm gonna do it as me and like hope they like me. And that's what we did. And yeah.
It's one of those things. It's amazing to see you've got your TV show hairstyle. I wondered like would that be something that's very specifically for that kind of role? Because you look on your IMDb and it's like a mixture of hairstyles, and like the curse one is this kind of ginger and yellow, and it's like it's weird where I was almost thinking, and maybe it's testament to the curse because everything with the curse, no matter if it was like someone has a gun, someone has chicken, someone is doing something, you're like, there's got to be a reason. Something's weird here. And I kind of wondered, the hair's a bit of a unique style. Is that purposely to just to think that's another weird element? Or how did that all come around? Did you
That is actually a funny story. So, I had a very different look for quite a long time. I had sort of like a old Hollywood, like red bob. It was really cute and I loved it, but I also just needed a change. And I was going through some life changes. Like my son had turned 18, and I was realizing, oh, I'm like a whole adult human now, like not just mom, whatever. And so I just kind of decided I was going to change my hair. And at this point, I had kind of just given up on like ever booking a role. Like I would do the auditions that my agent would send me, but I just felt like, I don't know, I felt kind of stuck and I just didn't really feel like it was going to happen for me. And I just was ready to focus on my production company. And so I changed my hair just for fun. Immediately got that first audition for The Curse, and I was like, shit. So I took a little selfie and I sent it to my agent. I was like, hey, should we talk to casting about this? Like, she's like, no, it's fine. They'll see it in your tape. I was like, okay. So I did it, and I guess they liked it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they booked the hair instead of the actress for this one. But hey, either way, worked for me.
It's such an interesting show. Like as we touch on, it creates this sense of discomfort. It's genre bending. Like you made that assumption based off that. Like I would make that assumption based on it being an eighth fielder thing. Like how much of that comes off the script? Because from what we've learned, like people get just a couple of sides and so on. You don't get the full picture. How much do you have to go off like on the page alone?
Okay, so we our sides for our scenes, at least for my scenes, were really kind of bare bones. And so we would kind of do a take as written and then kind of improvise from there, which was really, really, really fun. And allowed us to just kind of play around and see where things went. But as far as any understanding of like the show as a whole, nothing. I did not know. I was like, I understood that it was a meta sort of, we were on the show. But yeah, I did not know the full arc of the show in any way whatsoever.
And is that something that frustrates or excites you? Like you hear from so many actors where nowadays it is so common to barely get like full scripts for multiple reasons. Are you sitting there like, I really feel like I need to know where I fit into this? Or is it just, hey, I'm a paid gun, I'll just go along with it and make kind of hey.
Honestly, definitely more the latter. I also just think it's fun. Like, it doesn't really matter if I know the whole story. Like, I can, if I'm doing it wrong, they'll give me direction. Like, I don't know. And I guess maybe that's just having trust for your director and trust for your writer and knowing that they want you to look good too. And yeah.
Did you kind of draw from any sort of reality TV style shows for like your performance of Janice?
Um, Honestly, not really. I will say I'm familiar. My mom's a big HGTV kind of gal. So I've seen a lot of it, but I just kind of wanted Janice to be bright and like sunny and obsessed with Whitney. Like that's how I saw Janice.
And why would you be obsessed with Whitney? Is it that kind of like it's the TV presenter, like Hollywood kind of come to town, like basking in that afterglow?
Whitney is such a presence, and she's such an image for everyone. And so I think Janice seeing Whitney as this woman who has it all together, has her own show, she's doing all this stuff. And also she's beautiful and she's, happy and, generous and all this. So I think that Janice really buys into that and, wants to emulate that.
You were obviously cast alongside like one of our recent guests, Alexander Gibson, as like you were in a relationship, but you become this fake husband and wife and pregnant wife to be. What was it like, kind of working together on your scenes?
It was really fun. Alex and I had a good time. It was actually both of our first like major roles. So we were kind of in the same boat. At least I was from Santa Fe, so I felt like comfortable in the area. He was, coming from LA. So yeah. We talked a lot about like which restaurants to hit up and, all that good stuff. But yeah, Alex and I had fun. I think we had a pretty good rapport and, we were able to keep each other feeling pretty comfortable on set and, engaged, with all the hurry up and wait that tends to happen on set too. It was like we developed a pretty good friendship. It was nice. I liked it.
One of the things where when I was kind of talking to one of my co-workers that had watched the Curse and I'd mentioned I was like interviewing kind of Alex and yourself and I was like they're one of the few characters that I don't feel stressed around or anything like that. But she goes, actually I found them quite cringeworthy, which really it made me feel anxious and stuff like that. And one of those kind of perfect scenes was like his character like bursts into song and he shared with us like that wasn't originally in the script, but it was like part of like the audition process was like, wow, there's skills if you go, oh yeah, I can sing a song. I was curious, was that like burst into song like shared with you ahead of the moment, or is it something that you just watched in real time going, huh, I'm also thrown off by this?
I did know it was going to happen. That was one of those instances where we did the first take just as written without the song. And then it's like, okay, that's great. Everybody, let's regroup, whatever. So Alex and I went back to holding, and Nathan came back and he was like, okay, Alex, remember during your audition when we had you sing that song? Can you do that for us today? And Alex is like, uh, well, yeah, I can do that. And I was just like, oh, thank God they're not asking me to sing. Nobody wants to hear that. Like, so yeah, I did know when it happened, but it wasn't planned ahead of time.
And was it always planned that your character would kind of reveal, oh, I'm quote unquote pregnant and so on? Was that always built into?
Yeah, that one was written in the script.
One of my kind of favorite scenes, just for like just the absurdity of it all, is that kind of scene where you and your Alex's character just talk about recycled paint for about 4 minutes, for example, and you just watch like Benny Safdie's Dougie and Emma Stone's Whitney just watching it, and it's just like they look so bored and like, oh my God, what have we done? And I just find it quite amusing, just like two actors just being so straight-faced for keep going about their cycle paint, keep going on about it, and it's so cheesy and lame. Like, what was it like shooting those kind of like outdoor scenes where you're just like painting away and just waxing lyrical about this kind of nonsense?
Okay, so that was my last day on set. And it was so fun. The painting was really fun. I really liked the little girl who was like, she was adorable. I had fun talking with her. So the painting was super fun. That testimonial scene where we're talking about the paint was barely scripted. And they just kind of had us improv at the camera for a little bit, just like give us throw out little hints here and there, talk about this or mention this. And yeah, I loved it. I don't know. I think I loved the improv part a little more than Alex did, but I don't know. That's just part of me in
It's
my,
a hard thing to kind of just drag on about kind of paint, isn't it?
yeah. Well, and that was honestly one of my favorite bits when I watched the show. I was like, oh my God, that's so fucking funny. Like, it's so awkward and it's so funny. Like, literally watching paint dry.
Yeah, like their pained expressions, just sitting there watching it, just going like, fucking hell, like
What are we producing?
literally going to watch that and so on. It's just bizarre and so on.
Yeah.
Like one of the kind of it's almost a kind of becomes a bit of a pivot point is like the scene, one of the kind of faked TV scenes where they're kind of like, oh, and we're going to give you this pot, and kind of the Asher character has a mobile phone in it in his hand. Like, were you aware, like, when that scene was being shot, that it would become something that would play a larger role kind of later on in the series, that he was being so disrespectful or rude, or is it just shooting it in a bubble, like, you're just like these kind of characters?
We were mostly in a bubble. I did have some idea that that was going to be an issue because there was make sure we get this coverage of this phone and that kind of thing. So the phone was the phone was what is it, Chekhov's gun. But yeah, I didn't know that it was going to be that such a pivotal thing for their relationship in the show and all of that.
How did you find it switching between these kind of scenes where like you're shooting a TV show, but then you're shooting a TV show within the TV show that's kind of comes with this, it's already hyper stylized to an extent anyway, but then you're kind of playing another character within that. How did you kind of keep track of all of that?
I kept my sides in my pocket and I checked them constantly. But yeah, practically as far as the role was concerned, I don't think there was a ton of difference between Janice on camera and Janice off camera. I think she was just kind of Janice all the way through. But yeah, I think that was the main thing is keep your sides in your pocket, know where you're at.
Janice 1, Janice 2, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of that
exactly.
split universe. What can you kind of tell us about like Nathan Fielder's like directing style and how he managed a set?
Oh, so I actually really enjoyed Nathan's directing style. He was really gentle as a director, I found. And also really willing to just like, well, obviously it was somewhat improv based show, but really willing to let you like fuck around and play and like find what worked. Um, and yeah, also he has a really cute dog that made me happy. That the scene in the jeans shop when I'm like pulling his jeans up or whatever, and then we walk out. Every time we would walk out of the door, I would walk over to Video Village and pet Nathan's dog until it was time to go again. So that was my highlight. But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed Nathan. He was a really calming presence, I think. He was a real steady guy on set.
It's always one of those ones like if you're a Nathan For You fan, much like I think we both are, and so on. Like, did you have like a kind of preconception of what he would be like, kind of going in? And was there an element where you're like, I just don't want the kind of illusion to be burst about like who the real Nathan Fielder is to me?
Honestly, kinda. Yeah. I didn't really think about it till you said it, but kinda. I guess it's always scary to meet people, because you have an idea of who they are or whatever. But yeah, honestly, real life Nathan, pretty charismatic, like normal dude. Not nearly as awkward as his characters, but the awkwardness plays excellently. And kudos to him for finding that type because that's incredible. It's so funny.
I'm curious as like, as we mentioned earlier, you create your own work, you're an actor, director, producer, create your own content. Very similar in ways to kind of people like kind of Nathan and Benny as well. Like, did you sort of see them in a kind of similar vein to yourself and so on? And kind of, do you see sort of that kind of spirit between kind of filmmakers and talent like yourselves amongst each other?
100%. Yeah. So I don't know that I would put myself on their level as an indie filmmaker, but certainly I have seen both of them as inspirations. Yeah, I was, and obviously blown away with everything the Safdie brothers have done as well. And just I think the thing that I relate to the most, aside from just the gumption of get it done indie filmmaker business, and to do something different that other people aren't doing, is how fun it is. Because that's the thing that I saw the most, I think, between Nathan and Benny on set, is like they inspire each other and like vibe off each other, and like it's really about just creating this cool project and like making this thing and being excited about this thing. And that's what I find exciting about filmmaking, and like relating to other filmmakers or writers or who people who really just you can collaborate with and bring out the best in each other, and just keep it going, keep that ball rolling and make more cool stuff. Like that's kind of what I related to most in seeing them work together. I feel like they cultivated a really healthy, functional, like lighthearted set, which matters.
And probably a nice contrast to the anxiety they're creating on the screen.
Exactly. That's exactly because that's how I felt, is like everything on screen, there's always that tension, but everything off screen was just fun, like
And what
really
was,
fun.
and then on the opposite side, as you mentioned, this is one of your kind of first kind of big roles, kind of as an actor, and then you've got someone like Emma Stone that's been in the industry for decades now as an actress and so on. What was it like kind of working and watching someone like that? I mean, she's obviously just recently won the Oscar as well. What was her like to be around her?
Wonderful. I was super intimidated to meet her. I was like, oh my God, she's a goddess amongst us. But no, she's super down to earth. She's a sweetheart. She's funny. We were often in the makeup trailer at the same time. So like I don't know, by the time the show was over, I personally felt pretty comfortable around her. And I have a good Emma story actually. The day that we were shooting the exterior scenes in front of the mirrored home, it was the hottest day of the summer in New Mexico that year. And it was, I think locations measured like a 20-degree difference between like where we were standing in front of the homes and like across the yard. just from the mirrors. And so it's just this absurdly hellishly hot day and whatever. We're all sweating our asses off. And anyway, we do a take and we need to go again, whatever, and reset. And Emma looks off in the distance and she sees a dust devil, which apparently must have been a new thing. And she just like went chasing after it. She was so excited. She was just like, we're all delirious with heat. And she was just like an adorable child, just like fascinated by it. Was so cute. I was like, oh my God, this woman is adorable. Like to be that like on, and because I'm pretty sure she executive produced The Curse
Yeah,
as
she
well.
did. Yeah.
To be that tasked and working so hard and like be able to just bust out and have a lighthearted little moment under all that stress and all that physical discomfort, I think says something about a person. So
What was that house actually kind of like and so on? Like how real was it? Like what was it like as a is it like more of a set than an actual house, or is it a house that's a set? Like what's the story there?
exterior and interior were two whole different places. So the exterior was really more of a shell of the home, and then the interior was just the interior of a whole different house somewhere else in Espanola. So yeah, not at all even the same thing.
God, there's the Hollywood magic completely
It's so
blowing.
cool though, right?
Yeah, it's
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 so
so
cool.
unique. Like when did you get to see kind of the curse for the first time, and what was your reaction to it?
I watched the first episode the first weekend that it came out. I was gonna watch it the first night, and then I was like, no, I don't want to watch it by myself. I gotta like wait. So I had some friends over and family and stuff, and I made appetizers, and we all watched. And so I thought it was hilarious from the get-go, but I already knew that that's my taste. But it was really fun because I had, a really sort of a diverse group of people in my living room watching this show. I wasn't sure everyone was gonna really resonate with what we were watching, but everyone really kind of dug it. Like it was pretty cool. It's like, oh, and the Cherry Tomato Boys, like that's always gonna get a laugh. So
Brilliant. And like, what was it like watching it like weekly and building up to your role in it? Because obviously you come in sort of mid-season, and then before you know it, it's got this finale that anyone that's ever watched it is not going to ever forget. Like, what was it like to go on that journey? Because as much as you were there, there's so much of it that you weren't there for or had no clue where it was going to go. Did you enjoy going on that journey with it as well?
oh my God, yes. It was so fun. And it was, I don't know, the episodes I was in, I was anxious because like, seeing yourself is a whole different thing. But as far as just watching the show, I felt like it was just such a wild ride and such a like there was I think the thing that stood out to me the most, like watching the show as a whole, is the dichotomy between like the silliest shit and then like the stark contrast of like the reality of like the poverty and the all of the things that are the serious issues in the show, and how they, instead of like canceling each other out, sort of accentuated each other, at least in my opinion, when I watched.
I'd agree with that. And I'm curious, like, what's been the reaction in places like New Mexico? Because as you say, there's some really powerful themes about, as you say, poverty, white saviors, kind of, native land, all these sorts of things that are continuing to go on in it. Like, what's been the reaction to kind of the show and its kind of message in there, and equally as a real product of kind of New Mexico and the industry there and performers like yourself?
I mean, I guess I can speak best to that as someone who's in the industry. I think that having, a show like The Curse highlight New Mexico and actually have like Espanola, the city in New Mexico, like be a star on the show. I think that's cool as hell. Anything that's bringing more film into the state is good for the state and, the economy of the state and all of those things. But as far as Honestly, I'm curious too about how it would be received. Like specifically, if you are an Espanola resident, or if you're closer to those communities, like how that would be received. Because like I'm a white girl from Santa Fe, like I can't quite comment on how that might be received, by those communities. But that's an interesting thought. I don't really know.
So what's next on the horizon for yourself post the curse?
Well, I currently am working on developing a TV series that I would love to pitch. Um, and that's, it's in the baby stages right now, but we're working on it. And as far as acting goes, again, The Unexpected should be coming out soon. I don't know exactly when. And then let's see. Other than that, I think we've got, let's see, my production company, 701 Productions, has Permafrost and Dispatch still doing its last legs of festival run here in the States. I think that's about it for now. I know there is a film that a friend of mine made called Hidden Flora that I technically helped produce, but really I just kind of helped fund. It's really their project, not mine. So I'd encourage anyone to see Hidden Flora as well. It's another New Mexico local indie film that I think is going to be really great. Made by Ryan Rocks. Their previous films have been astounding, so that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think, what else do I have going on? I think that's about it for now.
I'm definitely curious to see permafrost. Like it feels like when I read the kind of description of it the other day, I was like, oh yeah, that was just like kind of Texas. Like was it a year or two ago? And it just like the whole slate just like fell apart with weather that here in Scotland we wouldn't kind of say boo to and all that sort of stuff. It was crazy to see how it completely fell apart and so on. Was that a bit of an inspiration, or was it one of those ones you saw that happen? And you were like, I can literally tell you there's a great film out there about Imagine a Few Steps Beyond.
For real. I was actually submitting permafrost to festivals when that was happening. And I was definitely mentioning that in my little cover letter on Film Freeway. I was like, hey, this is happening in Texas right now. I'm feeling a little guilty about it. Did I manifest this? I hope not.
Do you have a politician that flies away to another country where there's a few at the
Exactly.
same time? And where's the best place to kind of stay up to date for people that want to kind of follow these projects or what you've got coming next?
You can check us out at 701productions.co. It seems like it should be .com, it's .co. Also, we have 701 Productions Instagram. Let's see, I have my personal Instagram, Aliyah Lee 65. What else? LinkedIn, technically I have. I'm barely ever on it, but you can find me there.
Well, thank you so much, Aaliyah. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on.
This was so fun. Thank you so much.